Hello, everybody. Okay. That was the best I could do. I'm just going to adjust something on my computer real quick. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to play E standard as an open tuning. We are going to talk about the techniques that you can use, the techniques that you use to get an open tuning sound that you can also apply to standard. Now, I recommend doing this after you've already developed an intermediate command over open tunings. And the reason why is that it's harder in standard. Standard wasn't made to do these kinds of things necessarily. Or you could frame it, if that's not correct, you can frame it as open tunings are specifically made to do particular kinds of things, and now we're trying to do that back on standard. And it's not impossible, and some of them aren't even particularly difficult. You're just limited, and it's just not as easy. Just not as easy. So, that thing I just played, I made it up on the spot. Hopefully it sounded good. If it didn't, okay. But yeah, but in that opening improvised section, I tried to demonstrate the techniques that we're going to talk about today. If you watched my last video, thank you. I got significantly more views than I was expecting. I'm hoping this one will be better. So let's talk about what's new. I have my own microphone this time, whereas last time I was using my roommate's. The camera quality, it should be better. Actually, it won't. I'm using my phone still. Okay, we'll touch upon that another time. But anyway, I'm really excited about this mic. Okay, so where should we start? So the reason why you can play lots of open chords in open tunings is because every string is already a chord. I would show you, but my audio interface does not have that many inputs, so I'm just sticking with this for now. When we play all the strings open on standard, we do get a chord, and and it sounds all right. But I would be surprised if you ever played a song where this chord was in the song. It's not gonna happen. The name of this chord is E minor 11, and this is another way to play E minor 11. This one you will hear in jazz, but not this. So that's something you can't really do in standard. In open tuning, you can just play the open. You could make a song. If you, depending on how you use the open strings, you can make a genuinely musically interesting song just using the open strings. And that's just far more challenging in standard. Last video, I intentionally avoided talking about music theory because I didn't want to distance my viewers. I wanted to make it as accessible as possible. In this video, I'm going to talk about music theory more frequently because it turns out I have difficulty explaining it without using music theory terms. But the more important reason is that it's two reasons together, which is I have faith in my audience that you guys, one second, I just need to adjust this cord. It's like falling out of my computer. Okay. I have faith in my audience that they will engage in this video critically, and what they don't understand, if they want to learn it, you will seek it out on your own. I'm also confident that if I bring up concepts that you're not familiar with, you will still get value out of what is on your level. Like what's already, I don't know. Okay, whatever. When we're playing in, let's say, FAC GCE, which is an open tuning, you get the 1 chord, which would be a C chord. You can get the 6 chord, which is an A minor chord. And you can get the 4 chord, which is F major. In FAC GCE, you can do that all with open strings. However, in standard, you need to do it like this. Okay, but what chords can we play in standard that completely open? There's a few. You got E minor here. And you can verify that because if you were to play a regular E minor chord like this, if you look, actually these top 3 strings are open, and actually this low E string as well. So you can play an E minor chord just like this. And then I think the only other chord is this D chord right here. Okay, I just found another one, but it kind of combines the two. We'll get to it in a second. So let's say you go to play a G chord, and you play like this. If you look in the middle, these strings are open, so that's part of a G chord. And I guess technically you can play these two together like this. That gives you an E minor 7. But we already talked about E minor, so you have 2 types of E minor chords there, and a G chord. Oh, now I'm getting too many thoughts in my head. Technically, that's also a G6 chord, but we're going to put that to the side. We don't need to talk about that. Okay. The point is, you're probably not going to make a song using these 2 chords. You can. But we want to be more musically creative than that. So what can we do? I'm going to show you some chords you can play using mostly open strings that aren't the basic ones that you learn as a as a beginner guitarist. Yeah, none of those. But some of them will look pretty similar. So let's start with this one right here. So if you were to play regular C chord, what you're going to do is you're gonna play the same frets, except you're gonna move this one, first fret of the B string, to the 3rd fret. You're gonna have to change the fingering. I'll let you figure that out, but it's the same first top 2 notes, and then here. So it should sound like this. This is a C add 9. We can take this shape and we can move it all over the fretboard. So we can do it for C, we can do it for D. We're going to skip E, we're going to come back to that in a second. We're going to also skip F sharp, we could go to G. Now let's do the E minor. So this is the major shape. Okay, I need to get my guitar in the frame. A little bit more. Okay. And this is in the way. You could tell I'm new to this. Okay. Okay. C, D, and G. Same shape. I'm not going to tell you the frets. If you maybe you could probably see them, but I encourage you to use your ear. So these should be the bass notes. For C, then here for D, and then for G. These chords are really pretty, and we're going to talk about why they're pretty. Okay, so let's talk about the E minor and A minor versions, and then we'll talk about why these sound pretty, why these sound like something you would hear in an open tuning. Okay, whereas before, these two lower notes are 1 fret apart, and they make a distance of a major third. What we're going to do is we're going to make this fret go down 1 more, keeping everything else the same. This gives you a minor 9 sound. So so with E minor 9, it should sound like this. And then same with A minor. That one downside of this one is that actually this G string is lower than the A. Still sounds fine though. So let's do this together, hopefully, from bottom to top. C add 9. Yeah. We'll talk about what we want to call that chord in a second. E minor 9. And we're going to do G add 9, and then A minor 9. So why can't we do F sharp? The reason why is that the 9, you don't need to necessarily know what the 9 is, but when we add the 9 to C, this top note is 9, sounds good. And when you add, we'll call it, I'll just say the regular 9. No, let's not call it that. Okay, if you do it inside the key, you get this. You could use this chord. Actually, doesn't sound that bad. However, there are some tensions that are in this chord that you don't typically want. So this tension right here, this is dissonant. Some may say it doesn't sound good. There are chords in which you want that sound. That chord, you want it. This chord, it just doesn't work as much. The reason why is that the chords I'm showing you right now are in the key of G. And when we start on C, the last note we play before we get to G is this, F sharp. When we stack the chord, since we're in the key of G, we need to play, if we want to play diatonically, we have to play this right here, G. But then if we do, we get this tension. And the short version is there are 7 chords in the key, and the 7th one the seventh chord, you don't usually add a 9 to it because it just doesn't sound good. So we're gonna not play that. But there are ways you can integrate similar chords. Okay. Why does this sound pretty? Let's play a regular open cowboy chord. Oh gosh, there's a car outside. It's very loud for me. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Why do chords sound pretty? We got regular C chord. This sounds pretty. It sounds pretty. But that kind of has like the twinkly, more prettier sound that you associate with Midwest emo. Here's what we do. We're going to talk about some music theory. If you don't know music theory, I encourage you to listen and try to understand as much as you can, because I love this stuff, and I hope you do too. This C chord has 3 notes. It has 5 distinct notes, or distinct pitches that we're playing, but in music theory, we give them letter names. And you might be thinking, okay, so letter names. You know how you play a C chord? Well, that's a letter. C, D, E, F, G. And then after G, well, where's the H chord? There is no H chord. It goes back to the top after G. It goes to A. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so those are you got sharps and flats, obviously. But those are all the chords you can play. Be one of those letters. When you play this C chord, I'm gonna skip exactly how we got to this, but you're playing 3 notes: C, E, and G. And that comes from the G. Well, it could come from a bunch of different scales, but in this case, it comes from the G major scale. And how we get that is you spell out the scale. If you don't know how to do that, watch a video on it. I would explain it. It would just take too long. And what you do is you take every other note. So, just to illustrate this is C right here. We're going to play this the G major scale starting on C, but only playing on this string so we can illustrate something. And then what we do is we take every other note, we get a chord. So if you look, this C chord right here is just the scale when you take every other note. However, that was only 3 notes. We just take those 3 notes. What we can do is we could take more. We can take every other note further down. So this is the 1. We skip the 2nd, we get the 3rd. Skip the 4th, get the 5th. So we got 1, 3rd, 5th. Then the 7th. That's where major 7 chords come from. Now we go even further because we're trying to get Midwest emo sound. We get the 9. And check this out. Are you ready? Okay, so this is every other note. Check out. You know what note this is? Can you guess? It's here. It's this one. So what we do, and these are called extensions. When you take more than 3 notes, you extend the chord. Extensions, particular kinds of extensions on chords, give you the Midwest emo sound that comes super easily in open tunings. I wish I could show you, but I can't right now because I explained it earlier. But just to name the chords in FAC, GCE, the C chord is just a regular C major chord. However, the A chord is A minor 7, and the F chord is F major 9. So that's why when you just play the open strings in FAC GCE, it sounds very pretty. It's a chord you'd want to use compared to this one, which we don't want to use. So let's talk about more techniques. If so, you should be able to do this. Oh, and I guess I forgot this one. Okay, but there are some other similar ones you could do. For example, you could just put your finger on the root note of a C chord, which is a C. Play these open. Some of these chords are hard to name. I guess I'll try naming them because I said I would earlier. So let's talk about this one. So if I were to play this chord, I would probably only do these middle 4 strings. The reason why is I don't want the E ringing out. I just think it sounds better like this. You can conceive this chord in different ways. If you look just at the notes that are in it, you get D, F sharp, G, and B. And earlier we said we could play a G chord like this, just these open strings. And it's the D, G, and B strings. And if you look here, you get D, G, and B. But you add the F sharp. So you could say it's a G major 7, second inversion. However, it does sound like a D chord. It sounds like a D chord that has the 3rd and the 4th and the 6th. So now if you look, however, we don't only want to look at the notes to name a chord. That's not a good way of doing it. What you want to do is you want to look at, well, that's a good way. That's one of the steps, but ultimately what's going to decide it is the function, how it sounds. And this sounds at home. It sounds resolved. This does not sound resolved. And when we go here, it could sound resolved, but I think it doesn't. And then this chord, for example, when okay, I'm kind of getting off track. We don't need to talk about chord names. G over C. It's a C major 9, but you don't have the 3rd in it. Okay, let's move on. Tapping. I think you could get cool sounds out of tapping on guitar. You could get the Midwest emo type of sound on standard. It's not as easy. I found it, the only way that I personally do it, and I haven't made any songs with it, but I can do it on guitar if I want to produce that sound, is I'll put my a finger on C, and then I'll start hitting notes on the D and the G string. And I'll talk about why in a second, but let's just see what sounds we can produce. If you want, you can move your finger up here and it gives you a little bit more space. So you could probably do it in other spots. I think in the intro thing, I was kind of doing it all over up on here. We'll talk about that, but that's not a technique I'd probably use very frequently. So, I'll just tell you what notes I'm playing. It's from the G major scale if you know that. If you don't, then just play these. I'm not going to tell you the frets. You can see it mostly, and I encourage you to use your ears. I'll play it slowly so that you can hear if they're playing the same pitch. This is starting on the G string. Now I'm going to do it the D string, starting at the 12th fret, going downwards. And you could kind of string these together. And you could add other ones. I guess I'll just play these and you could use your ears to figure them out. But I don't know how many of these I would use, but these are the ones were I to use any of them in the first position, these would be the ones I would use. Okay, let's talk about the bass notes and we'll move on to a new technique. Why do I use C? I'm going to talk about this in a separate video about the music theory of Midwest emo. But the short version is that, as I understand it, there are 3 chords that are used very frequently. If you were to spell the scale out, the scale is just the 7 notes that are used in the scale. Okay, that's a circular definition. Okay. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I forgot. Crap. Oh yeah, YC. There are 3 chords. The 1 chord, there are 3 chords that are used frequently in Midwest emo. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 6 chord. You can use the 2, 3, 5, and 7 chords. And you can use chords that are outside the key. I do that a lot. But as I understand it, the 4 chord and the 6 chords are used very heavily. There are many songs I could pull up that use just 4 and 6 chords primarily. I'm not gonna name it because the song I'm thinking of, the person who made it is a bad person, and I still haven't decided if I want to promote their music. Probably not. Okay, so you can use the C as a bass note. You can use the E as a bass note. It gives you the 6th chord, the minor 6th chord. But I don't know why in standard it doesn't really give me the sound I want usually. Oh, I'm doing really bad. You can use G as well. However, I tend to not use it because it gives you a sense of resolution that you don't want yet. And then you could use A. That's harder to use. You could use B. Let's move on to a new technique. Strings that have the same name have the same what? Have the same notes. This is a technique I talked about in my last video. And I said that people don't really do it in standard. And that's true. And I'll explain why in a second. However, it's an option. And, there's probably a way you could figure this out, make it sound cool. So check us out. I'm going to play something that sounds good on the low E string. Oh, fuck. Now I'm going to play something that sounds good. If you play the same thing on the high E string, it'll sound the exact same, except it'll be up in pitch. I don't even remember what it was, but it was something like that. Anyway, why not do them both at the same time? So there are 2 disadvantages I can see to this. Well, let's talk about the advantages. It can sound cool. Tapping is fun, and it sounds cool. Okay, disadvantages. You're taking the lowest pitch on the guitar and the highest open string. These are 2 octaves away. So if you play an open E minor chord or E major, doesn't matter. This note right here is one of the E's that separate these 2 E's. If you were to use this technique in an open tuning, each of the strings that share the same note, same letter, or the same name or whatever, they're only 1 octave apart, whereas these are 2 octaves apart. And for, how do we say this, instrumentation reasons, for arranging reasons, it's harder to use. They're just spread out too far, where it doesn't sound, it's harder to use the sound effectively. Okay, let's see if there's anything I missed. Tapping, some open chords. Okay, let's talk about how we can mimic the noodly kind of sound you get in Midwest emo on open strings. So it's harder. Let's see if I can mimic it. Okay, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try that lick again. Hopefully that sounds like something you'd hear in Midwest emo. If it doesn't, then I guess I can't do it as easily as I would have hoped. This, I would recommend you, if you know music theory, it makes this so much easier. In an open tuning, if you use the frets that I gave you for the open position, like the first 4 to 5 frets, you can know 0 music theory and very easily get really cool sounds. This is not as easy in standard. And I think the reason why is that in an open tuning, you can perform, what is it called? Hammer a pull-off. You can perform a pull-off to the open strings, and it'll pretty much always sound good in an open tuning. In standard, it's not as easy. And so let's talk about why. In open tunings, we got the 4 and the 6 chords, usually, and the 1 chord, and the bass, and the lower strings. And you got extensions, or at least other chord tones, at the top. You never have the root, or the tonic, or the home key in... Okay, wait, that's what I was about to say is true, but that's not exactly the point I want to make. Okay, remember earlier when we talked about how we take every other note and we extend it to get the 7 and the 9 and even further if we want? It's very easy to do that in open tunings because they were built to make that really easy. In standard, it's not the same. So, for example, let's say we're playing and we have an E minor sound. That's an E minor 9. This E up here is the root of the chord. It's the name of the chord, so it's the root of the chord. We don't want that there. We want other sounds. So let's listen to this one. Okay, this one's hard to play. Oop. Those are all notes we can use that sound cool on top. That is not an E. However, E is the open string, which means it's really easy and tempting to just want to play the open E, but then it sounds kind of corny. This is something you can do if you want this sound. I would probably never use this in my song unless I used it ironically, which is like... Because it's the open E. The open E, it just sounds corny. We want... the sound that I want to produce, if we use a different note, hopefully this sounds good. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, I don't like that one that much. Try this one. Nope. Okay, this one hopefully. Okay, that one, I should have gone that faster. I can explain. Good, and the other two I chose before don't sound good. That sounds more like Midwest emo, whereas this one doesn't. So, okay, short reason, the other two I picked were extensions, and they sound good in the chord, but they don't sound good to pull off to. I guess extensions past the seventh of the chord. You know what? I'm gonna stop there. Not the video, just that line of thought. I'm getting too many thoughts, and I gotta keep explaining myself. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. There's too many nuances. So yeah, this sound. That doesn't really. That kind of sounds like Midwest emo, but not that much. Let me try it again. It's hard. It's hard. That's the best I can do without like sitting down and really trying to figure it out more. But how do we produce that sound? The answer is extensions. But we don't know about extensions, I'm assuming, like to as much of a degree as we would need to just immediately play something like that. So how do we do that? We're going to take the major and minor pentatonic scales, but we're going to use them the way jazz people do it. So let's talk about the way you probably use major and minor pentatonic scales. That sounds okay. When you're first learning guitar, that sounds fucking awesome. And I agree. Like, being able to do that, being able to produce that sound is crazy. It feels amazing. Okay. But we're learning to move past that stage. And it can sound dorky. If your solo or your riffs are always like... I can't even play that fast. It just sounds dorky. So, check this out. Are you ready for this? That was the E minor pentatonic scale. What we're going to do is we're going to put an E in the bass. Now we're going to play the G. No, we played G major. It'll be the same. What was I going to do? B minor pentatonic scale. But adding in the G occasionally. Or I guess a mixture between, okay, E in the bass. We're going to play a mixture between the B minor pentatonic and the G major pentatonic. Oop, that sounds good, but that's not part of the scale. Okay. Let's do another one. C in the bass. G major pentatonic scale. Are you ready for this? Okay. That kind of sounds like Midwest emo. Okay, but why? You want to learn about how to use major and minor pentatonic scales like that? We got to learn some music theory. We're not going to get to that right now, but I would love to talk about it. The short answer is that you get extensions extensions. Earlier we were talking about extensions. We're doing the same thing pretty much. If you're playing in a band with multiple people, say bass player, play a C, and if they don't know what a C is, tell them it's the 3rd fret of the A string, and have them, jam on that note or other notes, but that'll be like the basis. And then you, as a guitar player or the pianist or anything else, or trumpet, you play the G major scale. Oh crap. G major pentatonic, and you could also add in the other 2 notes. Okay, I'll talk about it. You got me. You caught me, okay? A lot of times I went outside the G major pentatonic scale. So how do you know how to do that? You can learn just music theory. It's music theory. Just learn what the notes are. Or learn the shape of the scale in 3rd position, 7th position, aka 3rd, starting on the 3rd fret, starting on the 7th fret. That'll be good. If you could learn the G major scale starting on the 3rd fret and the 7th fret like this. And then let's see, starting on the 7th fret. Yeah. I'm not super fast at it. I need to get better at it. I'm mostly a bass player. That's what I and that's an excuse that nobody will buy because it's not persuasive. Okay. Tell your bass player to play a C. Wait, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the other notes. Let me fix my slipper. Okay. Pentatonic. The prefix penta means 5, just like Pentagon. Like the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies map. Even though it's not called Pentagon, I think it's in the Pentagon. What was I talking about? I already forgot. Okay, the 2 other notes that are not in the pentatonic scale. Pentatonic. Penta means 5. However, let's go over the 7 notes of the musical alphabet, starting on A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's no H. There's no H chord, so we go back to A, so we don't count it. 7. Penta means 5, so what about the heptatonic scale? Hepta meaning 7. Well, that's just the major and minor scales. And there's the other ones. I'm not even going to name them. They're called modes. We're not going to talk about that now. I forgot what I was talking about again. The other 2 notes. These notes are special. I'm going to name them. If you want to know where they are on the guitar, look it up. I'm going to play a C in the bass. I'm going to play now. When we play a D on top. Oh, sorry. C and a D. This sounds good. Sounds pretty. It's the top part of this chord. When we add the F sharp. That sounds pretty distinct. Let's play it here. I'm playing the wrong notes a lot. This is hard. I'm really struggling right now. Okay, that's not a chord that anybody would actually play, so let's figure out a different way to play that. There we go. That's a pretty sound. It's a very distinct sound. We will talk. We should talk about this chord another time because there are so many like seemingly contradictions in music theory. For example, we don't like the sound, but we like the sound. It's like they both sound bad. They both sound dissonant. I'll talk about dissonance. We will get to that. I'm like not staying on track at all right now. This note, da wants to go up. Do. So when you play a D chord, you actually play this note. Da. Now, when you play a C, wants to go down. F sharp wants to go up, C wants to go down. And when you play a D dominant 7 or a D7, you play this note right here. Actually, you play both of them. But let's just focus on the C for now. Do. Let's try with the C chord. In Midwest Emo, we use that note to do this thing. So in Midwest Emo, you see a lot of like slides. And we use those notes to do that. That didn't sound very good. You can use other notes too. Ooh, that sounds weird without hearing it. I can't hear what's going through my audio interface. I just hear what's coming out of my guitar, and when I tap there, like, okay, side tangent, as if there weren't already too many. When I tap here, this freaked me out when I got a guitar. So I'll tell you, because I was kind of spooked. I got a guitar for the first time on my own, and I wanted to start tapping. But then I tapped, and what I found out is that it sounded like shit sometimes. The reason why is that when you tap, if you have an acoustic guitar or like hybrid or whatever this is, you get the acoustic sound. And so what happens is you tap here, the length of this string from here to here is producing a pitch. However, it's also producing it here, or I got the backwards. This is the one that's normally produced. However, there's also one being produced from here. And a lot of times those two pitches don't sound good together. This will never happen on an electric guitar. Like, it will never come to the signal. But if there's like any acoustic noise coming through, you'll hear it. Anyway, that's what just happened. And nobody asked about that. Okay. So, you got a C in the bass or an E in the bass. You're going to play the G major pentatonic. I wish I could play a C in the bass. You know what? This video is about to end. I'm going to tune down to a C because I feel like it. Just so I can demonstrate the point. Oh, fuck. What am I doing? Okay. Okay, hopefully that's in tune. Pretend your bass player is playing this note. Oh, I should have done the low E string, whatever. Oh, I had an idea and I freaking did not pull it off correctly. Whatever. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. the end of the video, comment something if you are so inclined, and I will yap about it. I will try to, and I won't. I need to go. I need to do something. It's not that. Too many thoughts, bro. Too many thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the feedback on the last video. If someone wants a tour of my posters, I would love to do that. Can anybody name what bands are down here? Let me scoot away. Or over here. If someone names them in the comments, I'll shout them out next video. Oh, check this out. This one right here. They have a popular acoustic song that uses that C chord I was just telling you about. So go listen to it. It's called I Throw My Vape in a Cornfield for You, or like something like that, by Flight Patterns. Well, damn, I give the band away. Fuck.